Hello and welcome to HITC Sport, and the Premier League squads for the current season are set in stone. Each club has submitted their 25 player list, meaning that any player who hasn't been registered can't play for the club until January when the registration window reopens. Unless they're under 21 of course, the kids don't need to be registered, which is nice. But some big players have failed to make the cut, so what I'm going to do is look at every club's best player who's been excluded from the Premier League squad. Arsenal, Mesut Ozil. It's all everyone's been talking about all week, well, other than Marcus Rashford doing his best to do what the government doesn't want to do and trying to stop children going hungry. But back to Mesut Ozil, who hasn't been selected in Arsenal's 25-man Premier League squad. That means that one of the top players of the 21st century can't officially play football until next year, and I honestly can't understand how. Arsenal only picked 22 players, meaning they had 3 spaces available, and still Arteta chose to ignore Ozil. It just doesn't make sense. I know Ozil's had his difficulties in the past years, and there's more to it than we probably know, but it's just sad. Some of the things Mesut Ozil can do with a football are out of this world. His vision and way to pass is up there with the best in the world, yet still you've got people berating his work rate. Whatever's gone on, it's a sad state of affairs that a player of Mesut Ozil's calibre won't be able to play any kind of senior football between now and the new year. Just a quick one, I know last week I shouted at Liverpool channel Rousing the Cop and a few of you went to check it out, so thank you. This week the powers of me want me to point you in the direction of the Boot Room, another place you can find interviews with Premier League legend Emile Heskey, where he won't just talk about Liverpool, and I think they're also going to have former Leeds, Everton and England goalkeeper Nigel Martin as well. I'll pop a link in the description, but check them out after this. Anyway, Aston Villa, HENRI LANSBURY. From one midfielder to another, HENRI LANSBURY can't quite be held in the same regard as the World Cup winner. And the former Forest man has been a victim of the goalkeeper fetish that is running wild at Villa Park. Dean Smith selected 4 senior goalkeepers in his 25-man squad, all the while leaving HENRI LANSBURY in the lurch. Not even a championship club wanted him, which is really where he belongs. He won the lottery when Villa got promoted, as there's no way he should be a top flight player, and the fact Dean Smith has included him proves it. Brighton, no one. Okay, so anyone Brighton could pick, they have. No stone's been left unturned. If you're over the age of 21, you're in Graham Potter's squad. Even the kitman's been listed. Okay, that's not true, but they have included youth coach Andrew Crofts. Some of you might be thinking, I know that name, and that's right, you do. This is the same Andrew Crofts that used to play for Norwich and Brighton. Well, after spells with Charlton, Notts County, Scunthorpe and Yeovil Town, Andrew Crofts is now back at the IMAX as a coach, and the 36-year-old's actually been registered to play in the Premier League, just in case there's an injury crisis. And it's like getting your dad to fill in for your 5-a-side team, but at least Danny Welbeck's signed in time, with that guy Wells joining Andy Crofts in Brighton's Premier League squad. Burnley, no one. 2 teams in a row haven't got anyone not included in the Premier League squad, but I think if you didn't make the Burnley squad you'd have to question your ability as a footballer. Even if you rocked up with one leg, a 6-pack of beer and a car full of Haribo eggs, I think Sean Dyche would still give you a go. Burnley's squad's really thin at the minute, which is why they've struggled so much so far this season, and Dyche hasn't had the luxury of having options when picking his squad. Chelsea, Danny Drinkwater. In contrast to Burnley, Chelsea have a plethora of players to pick from. And as always, it's Danny Drinkwater who hasn't made the cut. You've got to imagine that if Drinkwater had his time again, he'd turn down Chelsea quicker than a fat lad in a salad. The midfielder's career has gone completely down the pan since heading to Stamford Bridge, and this summer he hasn't even got a loan move away. He was willing to drop down, he was happy to go abroad, but no one took a punt on Danny Drinkwater, who will have to settle for Chelsea training with other non-selected player Baba Rahman, all the while knowing that 38-year-old Petr Cech and his helmet have somehow got the call. That shows you how much faith Chelsea have got in Kepa. Christ, if Jorginho was as bad as him, then Lampard would have probably picked himself. More chance of that than Drinkwater. Crystal Palace, Connor Wickham. Once upon a time, Connor Wickham was set to be the next big thing. Huge English clubs were competing for his signature, with Sunderland paying £8 million for him. Other than that spell of games where he turned into peak Cristiano Ronaldo and kept Sunderland up, his Premier League career just hasn't got going. He's had so many injuries, and once again that's why Crystal Palace have decided against picking him for the Premier League squad. I don't think Roy Hodgson will care too much, with Wickham currently boasting just 8 Premier League goals for Palace. He's been there since 2015. I reckon my gran could do better than that, although she was a lethal finisher back in the day. Everton, Yannick BOLASIE. This is another one that isn't a surprise, but it's a real shame to be honest with you. Yannick BOLASIE is probably another player who regrets his last move, with the winger basically being a victim of Everton suddenly having too much money and not knowing what to do with it. BOLASIE used to be a sound player, at Palace he was often the starter instead of Zaha. But while Zaha's now the Palace talisman, Yannick BOLASIE's out in the wilderness after a deadline day move to Middlesbrough fell on its arse. And now the winger's been excluded from Everton's squad alongside Mo Besic. Fulham, Jean-Michel Seri. Remember when Fulham signed this lad and we all thought they'd won the transfer window and were going to thrive in the Premier League? 2 years on he's been relegated, gone out on loan, and now he can't even get in the Fulham squad, the worst squad in the Premier League. The midfielder's career has completely fallen off a cliff. If only that move to Barcelona hadn't collapsed in 2017, he could have stopped that 8-2 drubbing off Bayern Munich. Leeds United, BOUY. At first glance I thought Leeds had picked everyone they could. I mean, even J. Roy Grotta's got in the squad. But out of the depths of despair, I've found someone. Leeds have named just 18 players in their squad, yet 27-year-old BOUY has been shunned. This guy used to be really highly rated. I know this isn't really a good reference, but I remember having him on FIFA as an attacking midfielder and he was like an 88. He was once at Juventus, he came through at Ajax, yet now he's in the final year of a Leeds contract that has seen him play literally never. I bet Marcelo Bielsa doesn't even know who he is. Leicester City, LAYTON NDUKWU. I mean, even Islam Slimani got in the Leicester squad. That's how desperate things are in 2020. This year is a never-ending rollercoaster with more twists and turns than an episode of Game of Thrones, with an equally as crap conclusion. But one man who wasn't selected is 22-year-old LAYTON NDUKWU, a man who just seems to live in the Leicester reserves. Good luck to him. Liverpool, Virgil van Dijk. The best not to be included in a Premier League squad, Jordan Pickford is the man to blame. I mean, that challenge was ludicrous. I know he was trying to make himself bigger, but it was just reckless and out of control. It's ruled Van Dijk out for the season probably, so there was no point in including him in the squad. It's a huge blow for Liverpool, and one that could make this a very interesting title race. Get well soon, Virgil, I'm sure you'll come back better than ever. Manchester City, Philippe Sandler. We've got another centre-back here, but one that doesn't appear to be injured. Philippe Sandler was on loan at Anderlecht last season, learning from City legend Vincent Kompany. Some even tipped Sandler to fill the void left by the Belgian, but by the looks of things, Pep doesn't agree, as he's failed to include Sandler in his squad. Manchester United, Phil Jones. It's a hat-trick of central defenders, and here we've got a man who Sir Alex Ferguson tipped to be Man United's best ever player. I don't think this is quite what Fergie had in mind. It's all gone wrong for Phil Jones, who's gone from young up-and-comer to an OK defender to a meme machine, and now to a man who isn't even allowed on a Premier League pitch. He's joined by Sergio Romero, another big-time exclusion from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's squad. Newcastle United, Christian ATSU. There were a fair few players that didn't make Steve Bruce's Newcastle squad, but the biggest name has to be Christian ATSU. Sure, he isn't the best of wingers, but he's consistently been in and around the Newcastle team since joining the club back in the Championship. But this summer he's been binned off and joins Akraf Lazar, Rolando Aarons and the elusive Henri Saivet as players not to be selected. You wonder why they just didn't leave, especially Saivet, he must be sick of his life. Ah well, I'll never forget that goal he scored against West Ham. Sheffield United, Jack O'Connell. We've got another centre-back and another one who's going to be out for the season. Chris Wilder confirmed the good news the other day, meaning we won't be seeing Sheffield United's resident overlapping centre-back until the 2021-22 season. Hopefully the Blades survive, as Jack O'Connell proved last season that he belongs in the top flight. What a year he had. Southampton, no one. I can't see anyone that's been left out of Southampton's squad. I mean, even forgotten man Sam McQueen's been included. I thought there was more chance of Lightning McQueen getting a game, to be honest with you. Tottenham, Danny Rose. 2 years ago, Danny Rose was at the World Cup with England. In 2020, he stuck at Tottenham without any chance of playing football. There wasn't even much talk of him leaving Spurs. A return to Newcastle never seemed to be on the cards, while an emotional Leeds comeback was mere fantasy. It's a sad state of affairs for Danny Rose, a man who was the best left back in the country once upon a time. West Brom, KAMIL GROSICKI. Right, the situation regarding KAMIL GROSICKI seems messy. He joined West Brom last season, but it isn't needed in the Premier League, so on deadline day, a move to Forest was on the cards. It seemed all but set, everything was agreed, then Forest handed in the paperwork 21 seconds too late and KAMIL GROSICKI is still a West Brom player. Not only that, he's a West Brom player with no hope of playing. He's just sat at home, twiddling his thumbs, screaming at the wife every time she plays 21 seconds by So Solid crew. West Ham, Oladapo Afolayan. Just think, this could have been Jack Wilshere if they hadn't terminated his contract. But instead we've got Oladapo Afolayan, a 23-year-old forward who's played at Chelsea, in Canada and is now in the final year of his West Ham contract, having to just settle for reserve football. Wolves, no one. Okay, so everyone and anyone's been included in the Wolves squad, even Roderick Miranda, a man who hasn't played for the club since the Championship. He's joined in the squad by Johnny, despite the fact the Spanish fullback is definitely injured until 2021. I mean, what's Nuno planning here? Does he expect Johnny to trot on the pitch with his crutches or maybe even in a wheelchair? You got more chance of Jamie Carragher signing up just to continue his love affair with Conor Cody. So there we have it, that's every Premier League club's best player not included in the Premier League squad. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to HITC Sport. And until next time, we will see you around.